There's got to be some reasons that your partner is so explosively blowing up when you keep pushing and driving. One might be just the sheer difference in energy, because that's a big deal, right? Because if you keep writing checks that he has to use his energy to deliver your goal, and your goals aren't his goals, he's going to feel like he's drowning. What are we going to work on today?
I have a problem with my husband not wanting to help me. Like, whenever I ask him to do anything, a lot of times he just ignores me. He doesn't respond at all.
Has he always been this way?
No, I don't think so. We've only been married for 13 years. It's the second marriage for both of us. I'm a big project person. I'm always doing projects. I'm always working on stuff. And when we first got married, we would work on things together. We had our first child together a couple of years after we got married. And he told me just how helpful he was going to be, that he was so helpful in his first marriage, getting up and feeding the baby in the middle of the night. And then when I had our baby, he did not help me at all. And we're remodeling our house that we're currently in, which he did not want to do.
That was your idea?
Well, I mean, we talked about some of it, like it had a drop ceiling in the kitchen. And so we tore that out before we moved in and sheetrocked that. But now I'm texturing the whole house. That was my idea. So he always says that I'm putting more work on myself. Like, to get him to take out the garbage is difficult. That's like the one thing that's like his job in the house. 2 months ago, I was texturing the ceiling in our foyer, and I was 10 or 12 feet up on a ladder, and I fell off the ladder. And I had 11 breaks. I was in the hospital for a couple of days. I had surgeries. I still can't use my left arm very much. My wrist was broken into 6 little pieces. And so I'm very limited on what I can do right now. And a week after my second surgery, I asked him to help me find something, and he started screaming at me to leave him alone. And then a couple of weeks after that, I was trying to put some papers in, the protective sleeves, and I couldn't use my left hand. It was very difficult. I asked him to help me, and he did it again, where he started screaming at me to leave him alone. So I'm feeling very resentful. I'm feeling very alone. I just don't know what to do.
So, okay, let me give you what I think. I mean, there are some things, like, for example, when you're asking him to do something and he blows up, and then you ask him later and he blows up, and he tells you that you're nagging, and you're always putting more work on yourself. I'm going to bet, in a way, you're a pretty driven person. You are, personally. Yeah. You've got a lot of energy. You've got a lot of ability to get a lot of stuff done. You've got your list, and you're a go-getter. Go, 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 go. But what happens a lot of times, and this is just me sitting with thousands of couples, is a lot of times our energy and our partner's energy don't match.
Yes.
And our wills and our partner's wills don't match. We don't have the same drive. We don't have the same energy. And so what happens a lot of times is I see one partner, like your husband, who's trying to really just underwhelm the world in a way, like do the least possible to exist and to maintain energy. And then I have their partner, you, who is just trying to maximize every minute on earth and get everything out of everything. There's got to be some reasons that your partner is so explosively blowing up when you keep pushing and driving. One might be just the sheer difference in energy, because that's a big deal, right? Because if you keep writing checks that he has to use his energy to deliver your goal, and your goals aren't his goals, he's going to feel like he's drowning, fighting against you for his own survival. Do you, by the way, Wendy, have any anxiety?
No, I don't think I have anxiety. I do think I have ADD.
Do you? Do you think you're high sensitive?
Oh, yes, very, very.
Okay. By the way, you're like me. I'm way high sensitive too. So high sensitive people tend to be a little bit more perfectionistic. And some of that is that you don't demand perfection, but you have 4 times more data to try to make something better. So you can always see where something needs to be fixed and something that needs to be done. And then if you have high sensitivity and the energy, And if you're a little ADHD, which you may not even be ADHD, you might just have too many ideas because you're high sensitive that
Yeah.
you can't stay focused.
Yeah.
So if that's going on, you might be driving him a little crazy.
Yeah.
And simply because you're a Ferrari that can run a million miles an hour, but by the way, may not finish certain things.
Right.
And then when you don't finish him, you just rely. I do this all the time. I rely on someone else to just grab the other thing. Just, hey, can you just finish that thing real quick? Or can you help me just do this real quick? And so you're writing checks that he has to cover, but he doesn't have the bandwidth to cover, and that's making him mad. I bet that's one thing going on.
It sounds right.
A great book on this that you might want to go understand is The Highly Sensitive Person in Love by Elaine Aron. Just because it's hard to get him to do anything, it might be right now really good for you to just understand your sensitivity and kind of understand what others think that aren't high sensitive, because they just think you're neurotic. Like, oh my gosh, you don't need to do that. You're complicating everything. Like, slow down. So, number one, I'd go read that book, learn everything you can about your own sensitivity. I'd get really good at learning to drive your own Ferrari. It doesn't mean you can't ask for some help from him, but if you notice it's not working, and then that kills you, that destroys you, because you were hoping to have a help meet. And what you might think that means is somebody to carry your super high sensitive load. But the hard part about being a high sensitive and married to somebody that's maybe isn't is that nobody gets you as much as you do. And nobody gets how much you see and how much you need and how much needs to be done. And nobody gets that like you do. And so about, I don't know, 5 times a week, I coach clients who are in this exact same predicament as you, and they can't get their partner to pick up their game. And that chasm seems even bigger because you're so big in the game that needs to be played. And so he's naturally opposing you and pulling the other way. If he goes with you and we double your energy, you will double the tasks that need to be done.
Oh, that's so
And so
true.
he knows he can't do that. You know what I mean? So he's literally playing against your game. He doesn't want to lend you his energy for what he thinks is your extreme overdrivenness.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It would be like the exact same if he was really like a sexaholic and all he wanted you to do was have sex all the time. You almost don't want to feed that. So you kind of, even if you wanted sex, you wouldn't want it as much as he does. So you're going to pull against it a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how humans balance systems. So I think one thing he's trying to do is balance a system. I think a second part that's going on is when he said that phrase, it's such a tell. When he said the phrase, stop nagging me, somewhere in him, he had someone in his life, by the way, maybe kind of similar to you, maybe a mom that drove him a lot
Yeah.
to do a lot, and that was kind of a taskmaster. And a lot of times men and women in our communication, we're very different. And one of the things women tend to do, and I noticed it in you, Wendy, when you were talking about how this hurt you, when he won't talk nice and when he won't be your helpmeet, it hurts your bond. It makes you feel like we're not bonded. We're not close, right?
Yeah.
When you talk, you're trying to bond. And when he talks, he's just trying to transfer data. And then the second thing he's trying to do is maintain status or hierarchy. And I bet in the family, because of your drive, he might feel like he's second rate or he's under you.
Yeah. I
And then
think that's
when
been
you
true
are
for a
doing a task with him and he's helping you and you're kind of telling him what needs to be done, that to him sounds like nagging. The nagging usually is a sign you've taken a hierarchy over him, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so that's why men always associate it. Oh my gosh, you sound just like my mother. The nag was mom saying, go clean your room. Did you do your homework? Come and eat. It's all of these demands. Uh. And the demands are probably making him kind of react, by the way, like a child. When you go mother, he goes child, if
Okay.
you're noticing.
Yeah.
And I get why you do it, but when he goes outside to work in the yard, I would just chalk it up to awesomeness that he's working. Woo! And what I wouldn't do is go out there and even do it with him. I know why you are, probably because you're trying to bond. You're trying to be part of a team. You're
Right.
trying to help. You're trying to be out there. But I think what you might do, and I do this with my family and everything, is I bring my energy of high sensitivity, which a lot of that energy feels a little bit like anxiety to people. And when you bring it out there, it makes others start to vibrate. And
Okay.
so when he goes outside, I just let him be outside. When he's cutting trees, let him cut trees. And when he cuts too many trees and he can't get it all done, I wouldn't say anything. By the way, I'm not saying that to be punitive. But if he goes out, don't go interfere. He's
Okay.
finally working.
Yeah.
For you, the garbage needs to go out one day before anyone else might think it does. So you see it that whole day, 14 times you see the garbage needs to go out, garbage needs to go out, garbage needs to go out, garbage needs to go out. Day two, now it's dawning on the normal average person that the garbage needs to go out. So you have 14 more times you see the garbage needs to go out. So those 2 days, because you're always ahead because you have more information, you are 28 visits to the garbage can ahead of your husband. Now you're
Mm.
day three and your husband's still trying to push it down. And in your head, you're like, I'm hoping he'll take it out. But he won't, because your husband isn't getting the clue. He's not getting the clue. But by the way, he wouldn't get the clue until a day after you had the clue. And now, because he's a little slower or resentful, he's not going to get the clue. So what I would do if I were you, the second you see it needs to go out, tie it up, take it out of the can, and leave it by the garage door where he goes out. Just leave it there. He'll walk by it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Let him walk by it 3 or 4 times just to collect the data. But I wouldn't ask him. If he doesn't get the idea that a garbage bag by the door needs to go out, then it's telling us either he is just rebelling against you like a little kid, or he has his own issue like ADHD. He's not noticing the obvious, and he's not taking on the role of being the man of the house or following what we agreed he would do. And if he doesn't after a day or two, then just take it out. There's a price you have to pay. Remember, I call high sensitives Ferraris in a world full of Chevys. There's a price to being a Ferrari. And part of the price is everything you do is a little bit more complicated. It's actually a lot easier in some ways, but it's harder because you're a Ferrari. You're awesome on your track, and you're kind of a nightmare with a broken arm, right? And 11 brakes. And to him, it's a sign. See, that's God's way of telling her she needs to quit complicating her life. And he calls that karma, whatever he calls it. But I think a lot of this is pretty normal, just high sensitivity. And I have a program called Fast Track to Peace. If you go to matttownsend.com, you can find Fast Track to Peace. It's a 42-day email program where I teach you how to manage your Ferrari better.
Okay.
And I would just do that for your sake. Otherwise, you might start driving some of your kids crazy because you push harder. And again, I'm not saying you're a tyrant. I'm just saying you're a Ferrari. And a lot of the people around you are Chevy Suburbans. Does that make sense
Yeah.
for you?
Yeah.
Just so you know, I'm not blaming you. I'm saying to me, that seems like what's going on in the system. Eventually, we need to talk to him about it. And I think a super awesome segue into that would be you talking to him and saying, you know what, I'm realizing because of my high sensitivity, it kind of makes me a type A personality. I'm really a go-getter. I have a lot of energy, and I can see that by doing that, I'm probably sucking the life out of you.
Oh, yeah. He
And
totally agree
so,
with that.
and then what's great about that, and say, so I don't want to do that. And I do want us to be able to depend on each other. And I don't want to make you feel like you can't be there with me and that I can't be there with you.
Okay.
And then
Great.
I would just try to open up the conversation. You know what I did? And I think I mentioned this maybe on our last call. Because of my high sensitivity, I get a little bit more frustrated at times, or I'm a little bit more forgetful. So I've actually named my alter ego, my little high sensitive reactive person, and I've named mine Kike. What you could do is name yours a name and say, hey, babe, I've been talking to Matt. Matt taught me this. It's my high sensitivity. I'm reading about it. I'm learning about it. I'm so sorry. I know it puts an undue burden on you. And that's what I think leads us to have these blow ups with each other. And I'm so sorry. So I've named that person Kike. You can name it whatever you want. I call mine Kike. And whenever my Kike is getting in the way, I can tell my wife, hey, Marty, I'm sorry I forgot to plug that crock pot in. Like you told me, my Kike was overwhelming me and I totally lost track of it. So I'm so sorry. Or if she needs to give me feedback, she could say, hey, Matt, can you tell Kike next time that he forgot to plug the crock pot in just so he can remember? And I'm like, yeah, I'll go tell Kike. And it made it a simpler way for us to talk about these other things without the ego getting involved. He could make a name up for when you go mother and he goes child. We could call you Edith, the old lady, and we could call him Tommy. And when Tommy goes off and Tommy gets mad and Tommy is cold and rude for a while, let's see if we can't talk better to Tommy and Edith. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I want to get out of that mother-child dynamic that we have going.
Yeah. Part of the key to begin with is understand the mother.
Okay.
And because the more you understand yours, because most of us normalize what we do as just normal. Like, shouldn't we be working together? Well, yeah. But if it's true that if he gives you more energy, you will always have an abundance of ideas to go do.
Yes.
And he doesn't want to use all of his energy on your ideas, even if they serve him. And so you're literally borrowing his oxygen for your survival. And if you can bring your level down and he can pick his level up, we'd get somewhere,
Okay.
right? It's always a system. It's always both of us. And there's immense power when you start to control yours a lot better. I've just noticed it in my own life. I've noticed it with a lot of my clients. Does
Okay.
that help at all?
Absolutely. I understand Tim
But come
and Tim
back.
better.
Come back.
Okay.
Because I want to hear what happens when you start learning a little bit with him.
Okay.
Then I'll give you more ideas for how to get him
Great.
talking about it.
I'm looking forward to it.
Okay.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank you.